Hey everyone, welcome to the Call to Farms podcast. This is episode 39, where Sophie and I interview Adam and Leslie Martin of Bee Kept. Now, Adam is known for his natural beekeeping methods and was featured on the School of Traditional Skills. He is also going to be releasing his newly published book, Bee Kept with Wild and Free Honeybees. So you're going to want to click on the link below to pre order that book today. Now, make no mistake about it, even though Adam is known for his natural beekeeping, both him and Leslie run a thriving homestead and they have both dairy and beef cattle along with chickens. And Sophie and I definitely know and understand the work with running a thriving homestead. Adam and Leslie left California and moved to Tennessee, much like how Sophie and I did, but they had the foresight to do it well before 2020. Tune into this episode as Sophie and I dive deep with Adam and Leslie to get their how and why they answered the call to farms. I also want to take the opportunity right now to talk about my new swag. You'll notice it says Homesteaders United. Both Sophie and I teamed up with our very good friends Mike and Lacey. You may know Mike as the Fit Farmer, along with Billy and Michelle of Perma Pastures Farm. And we are going to be hosting a homesteading event this year, August 29th through the 31st in Asheville, North Carolina. This is going to be held in a beautiful setting in an organic blueberry farm. Now, we are limited based on the land size alone to 300 people. So you're going to want to be sure to secure your tickets today. We are going to be featuring gourmet food prepared by professional chefs each evening, along with live bluegrass music. And all of this is going to be included with the cost of admission. We're going to end each evening by campfire because this event is going to be focused on building community. And we will feature homesteading 2.0 skills workshops. Okay, now these are going to be intensive, hands on workshops if you choose to participate. And you're going to be learning more than just processing chickens, but ducks, sheep. We're also going to have Maureen Diaz teach an awesome course on the essential foods that you need for your pantry, along with salt curing and fat curing. And she's representing Weston A. Price Foundation, who are our major sponsors for this event. So thank you so much. And you're not going to want to miss out on our raffle. We already have some great prizes that were donated by our sponsors. We have a Mindful Farmer broad fork. We also have a large gorilla cart, and we're going to have knife sets that are going to be sponsored. You are not going to want to miss out on this event, and it's going to be fun filled. Oh, and the best part is that we will have workshops geared towards children. So you're not going to be putting your children at some, babysitter. Okay. We actually have workshops that are on beekeeping, intro to soap making, along with foraging. So we want to teach our next generation valuable skill sets so they can carry on the homesteads in the future. So be sure to check it out. Homesteadersunited.com. Our early bird tickets are already sold out. So be sure to secure it today. Click on the link below, and we look forward to seeing you there. I also want to take an opportunity right now to feature our sponsor for this podcast, and that's Redmond's. And Redmond Reelite has been a lifesaver for our family. I can't believe that I used to drink Gatorade and Powerade. This will still give me the electrolytes that I need without any of that junk. They also come in these handy travel size packets, which I carry in my pocket, and Sophie carries it in her purse. I love the strawberry lemonade flavor. Their mango's pretty good as well, but strawberry lemonade is my go-to. Also, if you love to grill like I do during this time of year, I love to add the Redmond salt with the organic garlic, as well as the Redmond salt with the organic onion, and those come in shakers. You can go to their website and just click on that link below, and be sure to use our coupon code Good Soil to save 15%. Now, not only can you use that coupon code on the consumer products for the salt, but you can also use it for the ag products as well. And we personally use the salt with garlic for our dairy cows. It does not taint the milk, and it also helps with the fly problem. So if you've got cows, you know what I'm talking about. Be sure to go to their website, click on that link below, and use our coupon code GOODSOIL to save 15%. Welcome to the Call the Farms podcast. This is a rallying cry to embrace the land, cultivate self-sufficiency, and sow the seeds for sustainability. Hi, I'm Tim Ing, and I'm your host today. I'm joined today with my lovely wife, Sophie.
Hey, friends.
And today we are so excited because we have our dear friends whom we get to interview today, Adam and Leslie Martin of Bee Kept. Adam, Leslie, welcome to our show.
Thanks for having us.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to be here.
If you'd like to take a moment, why don't you introduce yourselves for our guests?
All right. Well, I'm Adam Martin. I'm 50 years young, born in Bakersfield, California. I'm a full-time homesteader, full-time beekeeper, part-time cow milker, kind of do it all. And this is my wife, Leslie.
I'm Leslie, grew up in Bakersfield as well. I actually don't have a farming background, neither does Adam. My background is actually in civil engineering. I'm a registered civil engineer turned homesteader full time. So yeah, we're just doing our thing.
That's it.
I actually didn't know that about you, Leslie. That's really interesting. And I love the fact that both of you did not come from a farming background. We didn't either. What we like to always ask our guests is, what made you answer the call to farms then?
Well, I would say, I think that I guess to back way up, we started getting more conscious about what we were eating and eating more healthy, and just kind of just started leaning that way. We got some chickens and did the whole, started getting some eggs, and then we did meat birds, and we did a garden. And this was all back in California before we moved to Middle Tennessee. And we just felt like we needed to start doing that. I would say the biggest pivot point for us was listening to Folks This Ain't Normal by Joel Salatin. And that just, both of us, it just was an awakening, and just like, we have got to start eating clean. We've got to start raising our own food. We've got to get out of this system of poison, if you will, and just start working towards just eating better. So just so that we can live better and feel better. And so I'd say that was kind of the launching point really for homesteading. And then we were both professionals in California. I was a firefighter, I was a field surveyor, and then I was a contractor most recently doing dirt work. And Leslie was a civil engineer, registered civil engineer, and she had a big boy job is what I call it. So when we decided we were going to really start thinking about making the escape from California, we started taking these vacations because Leslie had, paid vacation. And so we were able to go take 3 and 4 week vacations and escape California and go check places out. And with the intention of cashing out and buying some little dog on some road in the middle of nowhere, and basically just starting over and raising our own food. And that was really how we got going.
I think too, though, it was a progression from, 2006. 2006, we moved to a new community, met a whole new group of people, and they were on the journey of clean eating. And so when you kind of get into their community, they encourage you to do the same thing. So that's kind of that's when it started. It was a slow move. And at one point, we had some friends who asked us they wanted us to buy their organic farm so that they can move out of California. And it was just a small little farm, had a cute little house on it, but we knew nothing about farming, nothing. I mean, I could kill anything. So, and it just didn't work out. So by the time I ended up working for the county, I got a job through the county, and a couple months into the job, my supervisor and I were on our way to a job site, take a look at it. And I don't know what we were talking about. And he just asked me, do you love civil engineering? And I'd been into it now by that time, I'd been in 8.5 years from the time I started. And I didn't want to answer him because I'd only been on the job 2 months. I didn't want to give him a reason to, I don't know. They weren't going to fire me, but still. And I just couched it. I'm like, I like it. I like problem solving. I kind of just wrap myself around it, wrap a little bit. And he just said, you know what? I don't love civil engineering. I said, okay, what would you do? He said, I'd be a chef. I said, really? That's interesting. He said, well, what would you do if you weren't doing this? And it just popped in my head. I would stay home and grow my own food. And it was a light bulb moment. That was the light bulb. And then all these crazy things happened the next year. And we thought we were going to stay in California until we were, I don't know, until retirement.
Forever.
Because Adam was hired by the fire department, and that's a long-term job. Mine was secure, but he was fired, and that was, I think, the starting point of us leaving California and starting to move toward a different lifestyle.
I love how many similarities we have in our stories. And, we weren't far away from each other, from the area, Bakersfield, and waking up to the whole system that we're in, from Joel Salatin's Folks This Ain't Normal.
Mm-hmm.
And then where we landed, we're not that far from each other, and we run into each other all the time.
Right. Right.
But, I mean, what a beautiful story to hear. I mean, when you were going through this experience, though, did you feel that, you had support through the process, or how was that in making that transition out of California for you guys?
I don't think, other than our family and friends missing us, I don't think that anybody was surprised by our decision. They knew that it's usually calculated. We prayed about it. We thought about it. We made moves. And even though there are people in our family that think we fly by the seat of our pants, we don't. It just kind of looks like that sometimes. But I don't think we actually came up against any negativity, any discouragement, because I think they also know that we're going to do whatever we want anyways, no matter what they tell us. And so they just wished us well and sent us on our way and gave us their blessing. And here we are.
So you also said that you were traveling for weeks at a time when you had that time. How did you land in Middle Tennessee? What was it that brought you there?
Well,
we had family here.
Yeah, we had family here, but we were looking at South Dakota, Idaho, somewhere out west. We're Westerners. We like the mountains.
We were not looking in the South.
We weren't looking in the South. We'd never been to the South.
No.
Nothing against it, other than it's muggy and buggy. But in 2016, our family came out. Adam's sister is married to my first cousin, and they have 5. I know you have to think
it's a
about
hillbilly
that.
thing.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what close is that?
I mean, the tree just doesn't, it's
We
not
got married
super
first,
full
by
on
the
that
way.
side. There are 4 kids at the time, right?
Yeah.
Came out for a month. And at the time, Kanan, our oldest nephew, was
12,
14.
13.
And he was trying to convince Uncle Adam to move to Tennessee and giving him all of the reasons why he should move to Tennessee. And so during that time, Adam started looking up just Tennessee and freedom in Tennessee, what we can and cannot do in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And then we took 2 trips that year, one a couple months after they visited and one at Christmas, to visit and see if this is something we could do. And I think by that Christmas trip, we made the decision that we were going to move to Tennessee.
So how did the transition go? Because Leslie sounded like you had a pretty good job. And did you just give it all up to go farm?
Yep.
So
Yep.
when you moved to
gave
Tennessee, you didn't have the job.
I did. I gave him a couple months notice.
Okay.
Well,
3 months.
It took us a while to sell our house,
Yeah.
but then finally, the market was starting to pick back up, and we were able to sell it for sale by owner. No offense, Tim, but we were able to sell it for sale by owner. And yeah, she came home. She's like, hey, I feel like I want to give them, what was it, 90 days notice?
I gave my supervisor 90 days, but I gave the job itself 8 weeks.
Yeah, so she felt like that's what she needed to do, and I was like, yeah, absolutely. Let's honor them, and you stay there as long as you need to wrap up your projects. And she felt like 8 weeks, 9 weeks was more than enough, and we came here with nothing, and within a short time we were able to find a little farm with a house on it, and so that's when we got going. We're coming up on 6 years since we moved to Tennessee.
Yeah,
Wow.
almost 6 years since we moved, about 5.5 since we moved to the property.
Yeah.
So you had the intuition prior to 2020.
Yes.
Yeah, we were ahead of the curve, just a hair. Like, yeah, that was such a God thing to be here when everything started kicking off. And we were already setting up things, but it was so crazy, I was hearing, I had some back channels. I'm sure y'all had some back channels where you're hearing what's going on. And like, I had somebody that I knew that was like, hey, I want you to know they're going to lock this place down shortly, in 10 days. And it was somebody that I trusted. And I was like, okay. So we just, we started making moves, and we literally went and bought 2 dairy cows, not knowing anything about milk cows. We got a storage tank for diesel fuel. I mean, we just started doing things as fast as we could. And we were really in a great position when things kicked off, and we didn't miss a beat. Like we didn't slow down or stop for anything. We were able to help friends out, that were struggling during that time. And we just kept going.
I just love your heart, both of your hearts in the story. And I hope that people who are listening can hear that. And, we were one of the people who, when I talk, I always like to ask, like, who here in 2020 had chickens?
Yeah.
All the homesteading conferences, everyone's got their hands up. But then at, any health conferences, nobody did. And it's really interesting to see that. We didn't know it was homesteading at that time, but that's what kicked it off for us, was really when, 2020 hit. We in California, we were a couple of years behind you both, and we got stuck with the lockdowns and the curfews. We didn't get that warning, or even if we had heard it back then, I'm not sure if we would have heeded it.
I would have had selective hearing at that point, I think.
Right. It was just this so hard to believe that they would do this. So I don't know that I tried to think about what it would be like if we were still in California and still at our jobs. And I don't know what I would have done. Would I have quit? Would I have worn the mask? What would I have done? I'm just thankful I didn't have to make those decisions.
I absolutely love your story. It just takes so much courage, and you both walk by faith. One of the main reasons why we moved out of California too is because of the laws. And Adam, if you don't mind sharing a little bit, you actually got involved with local politics when you came out here to Tennessee.
Yeah, I sure did. So that was huge to me and to us before we left California. We are law-abiding citizens. And so being that type of a law-abiding citizen, you're always wanting to do the right thing and make sure that you understand the rules and the regulations. I always joke that in California, it didn't matter what I did when it came to gold prospecting, off-road dirt biking, hunting, fishing, just go down the list. And I literally would have to read a book this thick and have a lawyer on staff to interpret that book for me to stay in line with the rules and regulations. And so it was such a big deal coming to Tennessee. And Leslie's right. I looked into the regulations and stuff in Tennessee and found out that it was the 5th freest state in the nation, according to the Free State Project. And so, and no state income tax, things like that. So when we got here, we were fleeing in 2018. That was when Gavin Newsom was coming in. Before we even left, I was literally standing at the front of Albertsons, having people sign petitions to stop the Gunmageddon campaign at that time. And Leslie knows, I just told her, I just said, I have to leave this state. Like, I can't stay here. If they make me a felon overnight, it's not going to be good. It's going to be a bad thing for me. Because I know I'm a law-abiding citizen in my heart. I want to do the right thing. I'm very passionate about that kind of stuff, about freedom and liberty, and it's written on our hearts as patriots. I know what the Second Amendment means. I know what the First Amendment means. And I know that it means the government should have zero to do with any of those things. So anyways, all that to say, I did, when we came here to Tennessee, it was within the first year, somebody got a hold of me and they said, hey, Murray County they're talking about making it a sanctuary county for the Second Amendment. And I'm like, what? Like, this isn't already, the most, gun carrying, gun toting place on the planet, like, why would they even have to do this, But I totally understand coming from California that it's a slippery slope, and that if you don't start putting in safeguards, that it's not if, but when. And so that opened the door. I spoke that night and I stood there and I said, hey, full disclosure, I'm a recovering Californian and I am here. I did. I should go back and pull up that video, but I just said, and I didn't have a speech written or anything. I said, look, I just fled tyranny. I fled overregulation, overtaxation to come here to Middle Tennessee for freedom and liberty. And I just told him, I said, look, we need to make this a hard target. If you don't think that it's coming here, you are absolutely wrong. And I was so right in that first speech, because what I learned, I ended up running for county commission. I lost by a very small amount of votes, but I learned a ton, and I built a ton of connections, and we've been able to be a huge part of confronting the Marxist agenda that's been pushed through our public library. Mm-hmm. And we've been very, very proactive in our community when it comes to those things. Okay. And it's very interesting. We found, and I don't know if this is true where you're at, but we have found here in Middle Tennessee that it's actually the recovering Californians that are the fighters here right now. Everybody that's on the front lines with us fighting for our rights, our constitutional rights, fighting against the Marxist agenda. We are all recovering Californians. We're from Michigan. We're from New York. We're from wherever. And they've all come here for the same reason, to enjoy freedom and liberty. And we all know without a doubt, if we don't stand up and fight for it, no one will. No one's coming to help us. We have to do it ourselves. And so we know we're on the same team as y'all. I wish we lived 20 minutes down the road from you, because then we'd really be on the same team.
So do we. Yep.
We'd be sharing radios and all kinds of things.
That's right. Yeah,
we have we had no community here when we got here other than our family that was already here. It was so funny. We were watching YouTube a lot, and we were following. Leslie was watching it quite a bit.
I didn't watch YouTube till we moved here.
Yeah,
until I was trying to figure out how to garden,
how to grow lettuce,
how to do some things. And then I'm like, wait, there are other people doing this. I mean, I didn't think we were trailblazers or anything, but yeah, we were just doing our thing.
I was following Off Grid with Doug and Stacy a little bit, just like, I was enamored by off-grid living, and that's what we want to do, be self-sufficient. Mm-hmm. And then, she's like, man, there's all these people that are in North Carolina that I realized they're all YouTubers, and they all live really close to each other. Justin Rhodes and the Contrerases that are from California, and like going down the list of all these cool people. And, she's just like, why can't we have that here in Middle Tennessee? We should have that here. Like, let's start developing that here. And wouldn't you know it, we really do have that. So she calls the North Carolina crew the North Carolina contingent. And I don't know what we're called down here, but we've got a lot of cool people.
I don't know. A lot of people have moved here, so we didn't really have to do anything to build the community. They just came. Yeah. And now everybody else is doing the work, so it's pretty awesome.
Well, we call Middle Tennessee our second home anyways.
Yeah.
So many friends out there, and we love you guys.
A lot of our good friends are out there, and it's always so refreshing to see you, Leslie. Even at the last Women's Homesteading Society conference, that's just always so. I feel like it's like coming home. In a way, we went through the same struggles in California. Before we left, we were protesting on the Lafayette Bridge, waving the flag and like all these things before we moved. And we were really just rallying years before, I would say 8 years before, when we had our eldest about to go into kindergarten in California. They were starting to pass these laws, and it's just like questionable subjects as to why we should be teaching our children these things versus, mastery of actual skills and academics.
Right.
But, we came out here in search for a sanctuary county. And so it's just all the things that we value. But yeah, we often say that we are in the front lines. We are the recovering Californians. We're refugees. And, my parents, when we were making the move, we had a lot of resistance, unlike you guys. We had a lot of resistance from family, from friends. And it wasn't until I told them that, your Saigon, told my parents, your Saigon is my California. And for them to really just lay off and understand where we were coming from, because we've been in the fight for several years. We thought we were going to stay in California too. We had our homestead out there, but at the end of the day, it was community that we needed to be around, people who believe the same things that we do and value the same things, because we realized having the same interests is completely different than having the same values.
Absolutely.
So going back to farming, how did you get to YouTubing all of these, influencers and social media, to then becoming one yourselves in the world of natural beekeeping?
God.
Yeah. Well, right off the bat, I mean, as soon as we got the bees, we had already we weren't really looking to make an income off the homestead. Adam still worked with his skid steer. We don't need a ton each month because we're debt free, and our bills, we don't have a ton of bills, but so that wasn't even, it really was just, let's break even. Let's have the homestead pay for the homestead. But after being on the homestead for a few months, after getting the bees, we really started feeling the want, the desire to stay on the homestead and make money off the homestead. And so it took a bit. I think when did you start the pilot program? 2021?
No, 2020.
So
the beginning of 2020.
Okay, so 2020, Adam started a pilot program for Bee Kept, and it was basically just service oriented. He would go and keep bees for other people. And so he picked 3 different families, took hives to them. He trapped swarms at their house. And basically, either they could get into beekeeping at that time, or he would take the hives back, and then it was just a trial run. And out of that, was it the same year you started teaching classes?
Yeah.
So it's all in the book. We wrote a book, and I can't even remember this stuff. There were a couple families that came to just basically see what we were doing. And one was a homeschool family. They brought their son to learn about beekeeping, and she put it out on Facebook that they took this class and it was fantastic. And then all of a sudden we get requests for classes. And so then it's like, okay, well, how do we navigate this? And so we had different homeschool groups contact us for classes. And then the next year we started adult classes. We were encouraged to, so that was 2021. Going into 2022, we were encouraged to charge more for our classes. That is when Adam spoke at HOA the first time in Tennessee, here in Tennessee, and then back to the land that year and HOA that year. And so that HOA, we knew going into that weekend, it was going to be a big weekend. Nothing monumental happened that weekend, but there was something about it, like something changed that weekend. And then the next year, we were trying to decide if we were going to go to another local festival. And we were kind of on the fence because he wasn't speaking. And I know it sounds weird, but I mean, if he's not speaking, it's a lot of work to go and be a vendor. You have to pay. There's just and 45 minutes away is more work than leaving town. It's just, and so we were on the fence, and I finally just told him, no, we're not going to be able to do it. And then we receive an email 3 weeks later from School of Traditional Skills wanting to meet Adam to see if he would be a good fit as an instructor for School of Traditional Skills. So that's kind of where it's, I don't know, the progression. And it's totally a God thing. I mean, this is what I think the moment it hit me was, okay, we didn't have to go to a festival to speak. We didn't have to go pay to work. We had a crew. They came to us. They came and they paid us on our farm. We didn't have to go anywhere. And so it was, okay, we can do this. We can do this. We'll figure out how to do it. And, just month to month, we've realized that we're doing it. It may not be a lot each month, but we're actually both on the homestead, and we're both making money on the homestead and living. So that's kind of where it's, and now it's what? Now we have 4 conferences this year, a book. I don't know.
So you grew it organically. And Adam, did you already have a passion for bees? Did you already have all this information about knowledge about beekeeping back in California, or is that something you picked up when you got here in Tennessee?
No, when we got here to our farm, we bought chickens. We bought a Great Pyrenees dog to protect those chickens the next day, and I ordered 3 packages of bees soon thereafter. And we eat honey. We were planning on growing what we eat, and honey's expensive. So bees was just like one of those things. Like we're gonna do it, But I remember I came down to her one day after messing with the bees, within a few weeks, and I said, I don't know what I have to do to make money doing this, but this is what I want to do for the rest of my life,
Oh,
And that looks like selling honey and selling bees, is the thing, right? But there was I just learned some things. I'm kind of I wouldn't say rebellious. I'm definitely a rebel when it comes to certain
It's
things.
naturally different.
I will
naturally different.
I will question things. I really do feel like I call it common sense, but I think it's more like I love nature. I love fishing. And I had a friend tell me, dude, you must think like a trout, because nobody has ever caught more trout standing in front of me than you. And I feel like, with deer hunting, with hanging out with the bees and playing with bees, I just feel like nature speaks to me, and I'm a huge fan of intelligent design. And so as I started working with bees, I started to question a lot of the things, actually all of the things that I was doing and why I was doing them. And I pretty much turned 180 degrees away from conventional beekeeping in my first year. I'll just list the simple things that I did. I learned that catching feral swarms, free bees in your backyard, that those bees are actually better bees than you can buy, because they're acclimated to your environment and they're free, which is very sustainable. I questioned feeding my bees sugar water. Beekeepers commonly feed their bees sugar water all of the time, and they take all of the honey all of the time. They never let the bees have their own honey. And I just questioned, like, that doesn't seem healthy. And if you do a quick little Google search right now and find out what is in nectar versus what is in sugar, you will agree with me that they're not the same thing. And so I realized I want my bees to have real honey, and I want to have real honey. So I stopped feeding sugar water. I wouldn't do that. And then one of the big things with beekeeping is people treat for a specific mite called varroa mites. Mm-hmm. And it's, worldwide, and it's this pest, it's a bee tick. And conventional beekeeping will tell you, or conventional beekeepers will tell you, that you have to treat for varroa mites or your bees will die, period. And I decided I'm not going to treat. And I've had great success with catching feral bees, not feeding them sugar water, not treating for varroa mites, and having them survive the winter. And so, it just was like, I just turned 180 degrees from what was normal. Then, like Leslie said, I ended up just by happenstance sharing what I was learning with somebody else, with a family. And I realized I love teaching too. I love teaching about bees. And so I joke now, that I love teaching about bees almost as much as I love bees and honey. And so it just became a really natural fit for me to just teach what I learned. And I'm very passionate about it, and I love doing it. It's obviously a niche, because there's a lot of people, and it's growing every day, that are doing what I'm doing, but there's not a lot of people teaching what I'm teaching and really trying to get it out there. And so I've written the book. We've got Instagram, Facebook, all those things. We got a great website, and we're taking advantage of those tools to get the information out to people. And it's so cool. And the STS thing happened, School of Traditional Skills, and we love them. They love us. We've had just a ton of feedback from that class, and people are loving it. So we're on this roller coaster, and like I said, it's a God thing. We weren't looking for this, so this is not what we thought we were going to be doing, but we're on the ride, and we're just loving every minute of it. So that's a lot to say. I mean, I don't know. I hit a lot of bases there, but I mean, that's really how we ended up where we're at today.
So what are some of the differences that you've noted switching from conventional beekeeping? Have you noticed differences in the product of the honey or the health of the bees?
So my success rates over the winter since I switched to natural beekeeping, I call it, more natural, sustainable beekeeping. Natural beekeeping is actually not natural. I believe bees are meant to be in the tree 15 feet up off the ground, and that humans are not really supposed to be in those trees. But I also believe that God gave us bees for a reason. And if we can have a mutually beneficial relationship, just like we do with the milk cows and we can give them a great environment and let them do their thing, that we can have this great relationship together. And so my success rates really have spoken for themselves over the last several years. Beekeepers commonly lose 50% of their bees over the winter, maybe 25% if they're lucky. 100% is like really rare. The president of our bee club right now, he is a natural, sustainable beekeeper, and he had for many years 100% success rate every year, and he only started having overwintered fatalities or colony collapse when his neighbor sprayed poison next door, and he ended up losing a bunch of colonies. I have my first year when I did conventional beekeeping, I lost 8 out of 9 colonies.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
those 3 packages that I bought originally, lost all 3 of those, lost 8 out of the 9 colonies. But the one colony that survived was a huge swarm catch. It was my very first trap swarm. And I had put them in a horizontal hive, which is a better insulated hive. And they survived my very first winter. And I thought, okay, I know the secret now. I went 1 for 9, and most people would give up. Not going to give up. And the next winter, I went 8 for 12. So I went in with 12, came out with 8. The next winter, I went 16 for 19. The winter after that, I don't have my exact numbers, but it was like 50-50. I had a rough winter that winter, and I think a lot of it had to do with my mismanagement
I
that
think it was
winter.
a rough winter for a lot of beekeepers that year too.
I always blame colony collapse on me, and so I'm going to take credit for that. So I had a rough winter that winter, but then this last winter, I went in with 12, and I came out with 10. And one of those was a really weak little swarm catch that I caught late in the year that I honestly did not think would survive. So I feel like I went basically 10 for 11 without feeding, without treating, 0 inputs. As sustainable homesteaders, right? We talk about, we want grass-fed beef, we want grass genetics in our milk cows. We want less inputs, right? And so going to Walmart and buying a 25-pound bag of sugar to feed my bees, it's just like, no, and it's just a difference in philosophy. We joke that we're a get tough or die farm, and we actually do really mean that. We have hardy animals. We want hardy animals. We want pigs that can farrow their own piglets. We want cows that can drop calves without assistance. And that's what we do. We're not doing purebred, this, that, or the other. We're not doing that. We're doing hardy animals, And so the same thing for the bees, right? It's get tough or die. And like, if those bees die, those are not bees I want. I want bees that can handle varroa mites. I want bees that can go get nectar and bring it back and store it as honey and support themselves. I want a hands-off approach. I want the bees to be bees. I'm going to let them be bees. And I think they do it better than we do it, honestly. And that is a book.
I was going to say that should be the title of your book.
Yeah.
Let the bees be bees.
I know we want to definitely get into beekeeping pretty soon. Our eldest daughter, she's taken a fascination towards beekeeping. And when you mentioned your stats, I mean, those stats sounded really great. But that first season, when you said you lost 8 out of 9, so how long does it take to restart, a hive to actually start producing honey?
So basically, once you either buy bees, which I highly suggest you never buy a bee, or you trap a feral swarm,
Mhm.
basically you don't take anything from them for their first year.
Mhm.
And so theoretically, you would trap your bees during swarm season, which for you is pretty much going to be the same as us. From about March to about July 1st is when you want to trap a feral swarm. And then the swarm season's over at that point. But you don't take anything from those bees. They go out, they get all their nectar, bring it in, store it, and you leave them alone. You do a little bit of a kind of winterize them and get them in the smallest area possible so they can overwinter well. And then that next spring, you do an expansion and give them a bunch of room, and they go out and they do their work. And right now, I just got into a hive today. In fact, I haven't had this one for a year. It was a swarm trap right next to our house. And I just got in there today and I pulled 7 frames of honey out of a 30 to 31 frame hive, and they still have a ton of honey in there. And so like I just pulled 7 frames of honey, which is going to be probably 28 pounds of honey. We're talking about 42 pounds of honey.
Well,
Wow.
are they full?
Yeah, they're close.
35 to 42.
Anyways, 2.7 pounds per quart. That's a lot of honey for one colony, and they still have a ton of honey in there. So they're already set up for next winter.
Wow.
And I just took a ton of honey from them. And so honeybees are they're excellent at what they do. If we just give them space and give them room and just manage them a little bit, they'll take care of us. And Leslie and I, we haven't said this yet, we have a serious honey problem. We go through about 52 quarts of honey per year. I know it's we need to get into a program for it.
I don't get sick, so I'm good.
Yeah, it's our medicine. Like literally, there was something going around in 2020, 2021. She never got it. I never lost my sense of taste or smell. So I can't even say that I ever had it. Like we never got it. But we also eat way too much honey. So there might be something to it.
Wait, so do you add honey to every meal then? Or how do you take your honey? Just
Well, pretty much coffee in the morning and then
And yogurt, tea, iced tea. What else?
I've been eating peanut butter and honey
Peanut butter and honey
sandwiches
sandwiches.
since I was a little kid. My mom, God bless her, she fed us peanut butter and honey sandwiches. And that's like my go-to breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert, snack.
I don't have to feed him.
Right?
He just makes it. Great. We have a good setup.
And ice cold raw milk.
Oh, that is really nice.
Yeah.
I have a question. Our eldest is entering she's entering her preteens. And so she's kind of changed a lot in personality. And it's hard to get her to talk, to open up. I mean, we're trying. But I've noticed we have another mentor. She's up in the mountains here in East Tennessee, and she's a natural beekeeper as well. She's been doing this for 30 years. And she was kind of just checking in on her hives. And our eldest just suited up and got with her and jumped right in. And I ran after her, silently running after her and recording. She was very vocal. She was very interactive. She was very engaged, asking a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to question, while I'm watching this interaction, I was wondering, I wonder if there's a certain type of personality or skill set that's like that someone is drawn to this. And our eldest is kind of brainy, right? She loves questioning things as well, and she loves reading. But she loves, there's something there. And I'm kind of curious if you, clearly you have a very strong passion in it.
You teach it.
And there's something in this, in the Japanese culture called the ikigai, which we talk about, which is, finding what it is that you're really good and passionate about, what it is. It's the intersection of that verse and what people are wanting to learn from you and what the world needs, right? And so seems like you found your ikigai, but I'm also curious, like, is there a certain personality or that's drawn to beekeeping? Kind of like there are certain personalities that are drawn to horses, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't, say from an education point of view.
I'm just trying to think of the people who've come to our classes.
Well,
Yeah.
I do know that, honeybees, they are super therapeutic. Their humming actually puts off frequency. There's a project called Hives for Heroes in America that's geared towards veterans, specifically with PTSD. And what they do is they link them up with beekeepers, and the beekeeper becomes the mentor. And they've found that it's just extremely good for these guys with PTSD. And so, all that to say, there's absolutely something there. Now, if you're petrified of bees, or if you have anaphylactic shock if you get stung by a bee, bees might not be your thing. But in general, I mean, I honestly, I mean, I love getting people into bees for the first time. I love getting 5-year-old kids to walk right up to me when I'm holding a frame of bees. Nobody has protective equipment on, stick their finger in and taste real raw honey for the first time. I think that if anybody gets into bees and they don't have like those preconceived fears or whatever, I don't see how anybody wouldn't enjoy it, especially what I do and how I do it, and natural beekeepers. It's so much fun. I love it. I honestly do.
What's your advice for someone or families who are wanting to get started in natural beekeeping?
Well, it would be pretty much the same advice that you would find at the local bee club. They're going to tell you, you need to do some reading, you need to watch some videos, you need to attend some meetings, you need to read some books. I think I already said that. You need to get a mentor, you need to do all those things. But what I would recommend almost above that is, like, you've got to figure out there's really two directions to go with beekeeping. And one is the conventional way, and one is my way. And, you've got to decide that right off the bat, and I wish I teach what I would want to tell me 6 years ago. I would want to tell me, hey, Adam, do you treat your cows, for different things? How do you eat? Do you eat clean? Do you spray the weeds in the garden, Because had I known what I know now, I would have not started out the conventional way. I would have done exactly what I'm doing today. And so that's what I impart to others. So yeah, I mean, take an online class, take my STS class, come down here to the farm and take an in-person class. We do bee kept boot camps during the spring. We'll be doing them in the fall too. And it's a 5-hour hands-on. We do a working lunch, and just basically I get them into the bees. And that's a huge thing, because you want to know before you go out there and you make $1,000 purchase, $2,000. I mean, this stuff's not cheap. You can do it on the cheap, but it's an investment. And so you want to know that you can do that before you actually, take the dive, So taking those hands-on classes, getting a mentor that's going to keep bees the way you want to keep bees, those sorts of things. That's what I would recommend and suggest.
Great. Any advice on like value added products that you make with your honey? Do you do anything aside from selling the raw honey?
My friend of mine and I, Claire, have you met Claire Phelan?
Yeah.
Her and I started a little side gig, and we make beeswax wraps, we make salves, fire cider. What else do we? Whatever we can. Elderberry syrup. Whatever we can use with products from our homesteads, our farms, and then the beeswax and the honey. That's what we do with that.
There's a lot of value-added products.
Lotions. I mean,
tinctures with the propolis.
Tinctures. And then honey. We have a friend who does infused honey. So she'll different flavored honeys that she'll like coffee infused honey, cinnamon infused honey. What else?
I've got a friend starting a meadery this next year, and he's planning on using my honey exclusively. So I'm really trying to up my production, like my amount of hives.
Okay. I was going to ask, over, what was it, this month we had a Mother's Day, And so we went down to the Pigeon Forge area, and there's this place called Savannah Bee Company.
Oh yeah.
And they had like a mead tasting, and it was great. I was with Sandor Katz a couple of weeks ago, and he pulled out, he's the author of the Wild Fermentation, and he pulled out an 11-year-old bottle of mead that was turmeric and black pepper. And it was like by far the best tasting drink I've ever had in my life. And so I was hooked. And so for Mother's Day, the girls got me a mead fermentation kit, but it's just going to be water, honey, and yeast. I have the water and the yeast. I don't have the honey yet.
Oh, I know where you can get some.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So I'll have to make a trip out there to get some of your honey.
Mhm. Well, so you both are known for your honey, but you guys run a full-time homestead as well. And I know you kind of glossed over a little bit. You say, oh, we had a couple of dairy cows. We understand the work that's involved with dairy cows. What other animals and livestock do you have on your farm?
We have beef cows on a couple different leases.
She doesn't even know how many.
No.
That's how you know you have too many cows, when you can't figure out how many you have.
Yeah.
Well, we downsized a little bit, and we're downsizing a little bit more. When he got hurt, I'm like, hey, we got to get rid of some cows. So we have two. We actually have 3 dairy cows right now, 2 with calves, and we're selling one this weekend. So we'll have 2 dairy cows. We have 2 bulls. One will be going to the freezer here pretty soon.
Yeah.
And we have 4 beef cows. We're taking a break from pigs right now. And then chickens, ducks, rabbits, cats, dogs, the garden. What else are we doing? Is that it?
I think that's it.
I think that's it.
She covered it all.
It's a lot of work.
You guys are busy.
We're
Yeah.
busy. Yep.
And a lot of bees.
A lot of bees.
A lot of bees. Do you have anybody out there who is doing venom therapy?
You know what? We had a friend come over, and we actually both did it, but he did it primarily for some knee pain, and I stung him. So he's the only one that's reached out to me.
So
Yeah, I would totally do it if somebody was serious about it and they wanted to do it, and they obviously they were willing to pay for the time and the energy to do it. I would totally do it because I definitely believe in it. So
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I think bees are so just
Mhm.
magical in that way. I've looked into like how they communicate with one another, and I obviously haven't done an intensive workshop. I'd love to with you, but we had a chiropractor back in California, and that's what she did for herself. She believed in venom therapy,
Yeah.
and she's self-treated herself, and that was the first time I'd heard about it. I mean, she definitely cares about her bees,
Yeah.
and just like learning about just natural beekeepings and how they interact. I mean, one of our mentors, she said, make sure you turn off your phone
Hmm.
or have your phone away before you go in, and because it just throws them off. And I thought that was really interesting to hear.
That if it would affect bees, then what kind of effects does it have on our bodies?
Mm.
right. Actually, one of our hives, I got up close with the phone one day, and and this is the first time it's happened. It's the only time it's happened. They swarmed my phone.
Oh,
And so I wasn't sure if they were just being aggressive or if something was going on that day. I don't know. So that may have been it. Maybe they were just affected by it and didn't like it.
Yeah.
well, tell us some more about your book. I'm really excited to hear about it.
All right. So it's Bee Kept with Wild and Free Honeybees is the name of the book, and wrote it over this winter. And it's just really, I just go into a lot of, what I do, how I do it, and then my experiences and a lot of funny stories. It's been an adventure, over the last 5 years I just threw myself headlong into this. And so it's going to be entertaining, educational, just a lot of fun. So we're really looking forward to it coming out. It was definitely a labor of love over the winter. We spent a lot of time on it, and we're excited for it to come out. So it'll definitely be, there's not a lot out there as far as natural sustainable beekeeping type books. So we saw that there was an opportunity there to share what we've learned, and we took that opportunity. So we're excited about it.
When did you say is the launch date?
Don't know yet.
Don't know yet.
It's getting ready to go into layout. So but there's a book ahead of ours, so we're in line. So
Okay. And I'm sure if people want to learn more about when it's coming out, how can they stay in contact and stay updated?
the best way would be to join our email list. So you can go onto our website, beekept.com, and join our newsletter. We will probably announce it on Facebook and Instagram. Those would be the best way to find out.
Okay, great. And where else can our listeners find more about you? What's your website and Instagram handles?
So our website is beekept.com. Instagram is being kept because I couldn't get bee kept. And then Facebook is bee kept. Another thing we have going on, I don't know if you guys know about this, is we have the BKB Club, and it's our monthly subscription, and it's a mentorship program. So we have 50 members. We're up to 50 members, and it's just a way for people to get a hold of Adam and for him to answer questions, because there's only so many questions you can answer via Messenger or messages or emails. So they get instant access to him. We do a monthly meeting via Zoom, and then social media, and then there's other little things that go along with that.
They get discounts in our online store. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And Leslie's the one that came up with the idea, because we're doing something that's not, not normal. It's not conventional. There's people all over the country that, they want to get a mentor and they want to get into beekeeping. They want to do it this way, but they can't just go to the local bee club and find somebody like me, And so it's just like, we just saw this opportunity to, be able to extend that out to people. And so we've had a lot of people get involved with it. It's been a lot of fun. We do a once a month Zoom bee meeting, and I bring in a special guest every month just to talk about natural sustainable beekeeping, and then answer questions during those calls and just have a lot of fun. Everybody's really excited about it that's in it, and they seem like they feel like they're getting their money's worth, which is great. I'm constantly getting pictures and videos on my phone, and people flipping out about whatever's going on with their bees, and I did the same thing when I was brand new. And it's just great to have somebody, I can just immediately, message back or get on the phone with them and say, hey, I can see what's going on. Here's what you do, So it's really filled a need, and it's been super fun. So
Are your subscribers from all over the US?
Yeah, I don't think we have anybody outside of the US yet.
No, not yet.
But everybody's in the US so far.
Yeah.
So, but all over the
All over.
place. With our boot camps, we've had people come from Kansas. We had somebody came from Pennsylvania.
Couple from Pennsylvania.
And then we had one gal that she actually met us at Homestead Festival, moved to Idaho, and then jumped a plane to come visit her family and came down here for a boot camp 1 week. So we got people coming from all over the place to come to our boot camps, which is awesome. So that's been a ton of fun.
We need to go too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying
That'd
to
be
go when we first moved here.
Yeah.
And then things have just been crazy. But I definitely, now that our eldest is definitely interested in it, we're going to have to make the investment, because I love mead too.
Yeah. You guys are
That's a good reason. Honey, mead.
Yep.
I mean,
Anything with honey.
beeswax, propolis, they venom therapy.
Venom.
They offer a lot, So it's and the way that I do bees, homesteaders, this is another thing too, is we're all busy doing a million things, I'll never be a professional cow milker, but I milk 2 cows every day or 3 cows every day, And so it's really the same with the bees. What I teach and how I teach it, it can be very hands off. You don't have to be in your bees all the time. And in fact, I don't want you to be in your bees all the time. We want to leave them alone. And so people get really intimidated when they go to the bee club and they hear you need to be in those bees every 7 to 10 days. And, you've got to look for this and you got to do that and blah, blah, blah. Treat, feed, yada, yada, yada. And I don't teach any of that. Leave your bees alone. Just leave them alone. So all that to say, y'all definitely need to come down, or I'm going to have to take a trip up there and give you an in-person class. We are going to be in your area. We're going to be in Townsend, Tennessee, which I think it's a little ways from y'all, but in July. And then we've got a bunch of stuff in October. We're going to be up in Kentucky. We're going to be at HOA again in October, and then back here at Back to the Land Festival in Centerville, Tennessee. That one's in our backyard, so that'll be fun. But we're going to be out there doing it, and people have a chance to come listen to me in person for an hour, and they can hear about bees and politics and religion all in 60 minutes.
Yeah, well, we spoke at the Back to the Land Festival last year together,
Mhm.
and I think you kicked it off as the keynote. So
We'll be back.
and we'll be back this year with you
Yeah.
both. So it'll be
Awesome.
Nice. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, this
Yeah.
was such a real treat because both of you are so passionate in what you're doing and just love hearing your story. And it just really resonated with us because we're both from California and you had the foresight to leave sooner than we did. So that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing what you do and just having that passion.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Adam and Leslie, for joining us on the Call to Farms podcast.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Love you guys and look forward to seeing you soon.
Love you guys too.
Yeah.